it lets other people experience you. And I think it helps make us kinder.
Viking.
One of the largest exercises as a good faith measure coming.
Mattis discussing the possibility of future joint military exercises with South Korea. Nuclear talks come to a standstill. Joining me now is former U.S. Ambassador to the UN and former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson. Thank you very much for joining us. There is a big question about is the current policy on North Korea, is it working as far as the progress that we are making?
Negotiations eventually will resume, and they should resume. But I think it's the correct decision for the Secretary of Defense to keep the pressure, let the North Koreans have that first concession, which they wanted. No military attack on an even keel, and I think that's good.
But is it fair to say at this point that...
but this is common with the North Koreans. They did this with the Bush administration, Clinton administration, Obama administration. You have to pin them down. You have to have verification. What the North Koreans want to do is string out their commitments, delay quid pro quos. They think they're always right. But, yeah, they're stalling. But the fact that there's not tension there, there's going to be more tension now with it. And that's good. But I think this step that Secretary Mattis took was the
White House and coming from the administration, when you see certain statements that were coming from the State Department as far as our progress that was on with us last hour, Governor, and he was making the points where he sees.
I do believe that Kim Jong-un is not interested in going as far as I would like him to go, but we know that the world, I believe, is safer today than it was. We don't see the kind of a...
There's still mixed messages. What the senator said is partially correct. Yeah, there's less tension because they're not detonating nuclear weapons, but the dialogue is now probably suspended for now. The North Koreans are not going to be on track. It's too important an issue. We have American troops there. We've got troops in Japan, troops in South Korea. We've got a lot of interest there. So a lessening of tension is important. Yes, there is less tension, but
Bill Richardson, thank you. Good to have you on this morning.
Well, top Republicans are split in supporting Attorney General Jeff Sessions amid his very public feud with the president. Coming up, Brett Baer will be here.
After a federal judge blocked the company from posting them online.
The only thing that's being stopped and injured as these lawsuits proceed.
Of once weekly Ozempic. In a study with Ozempic, a majority of adults lowered their blood sugar and reached an A1C of less than 7 and maintained it.
Oh, under 7?
And
up to 12 pounds?
A 2-year study showed that Ozempic does not increase the risk of or diabetic ketoacidosis. Do not share needles or pens. Don't reuse needles. Do not take Ozempic if you have a personal or family history of medullary thyroid cancer, multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2, stomach pain, itching, rash, or trouble breathing. Serious side effects may happen, including pancreatitis. Tell your doctor if you have diabetic retinopathy or vision changes. Taking Ozempic with a sulfonylurea or insulin may...
I discovered the potential with Ozempic.
Hi, I'm Joan London. Today's senior living communities have never been better. With amazing amenities like movie theaters, exercise rooms and swimming pools, public cafes, bars and bistros, even pet care services. A service that pairs you with a local advisor to help you sort through your options and find the perfect place.
Honoring John McCain. As the senator lies in state at the U.S. Capitol, Brett and Martha are live in D.C. with special coverage. Friday on Fox News Channel.
I think we'll pass. Just kidding.
Ready?
Yes!
Marvel Studios event. Available all month long with Spectrum On Demand.
Couple years in their car and keep their payments the same. You feel me? Move them up a couple years, keep the payments the same.
I'm trying to tell you, he's crazy. He is crazy.
Lisa, new Ram Crew Cab, 4-wheel drive, diesel, 0...
Blueprints for 3D printed guns, and they're doing that on their website. This, despite the fact the owner, Cody Wilson, says he's got a way around doing that. He says he will now make
these files. I'm going to continue to sell them, and frankly, it will be a stupendous success because of all the attention and the many tens of thousands of signups that I've already secured on my website.
Say that they're now exploring their next set of legal options to get them. Some supporters of the Second Amendment say that this is not a partisan issue, are made on a printer and have no serial numbers and cannot be traced.
We do believe in the right to own a gun. Moms demand action. That's definitely a policy of ours. But we also believe that in this country, our rights rest on a foundation of shared responsibility.
Now, legislation has been introduced addressing this very issue, but so far, no movement on it just yet, Eric.
So, Wilson, they'll let people, spit out their plastic guns from the printer.
That's right. So this temporary injunction that was issued that halted the downloads, he's just selling the blueprints and mailing it to customers on thumb drives. He further says that if people thought that this court ruling was going to stop him, well, think again.
If they're going to go out into the press and talk to all of you and say that I've been stopped from...
Now, his argument has been all along that he has just curated information that is already publicly out there, and you can get the blueprints already of these weapons on various websites or by...
Higher than first estimates.
Plus, California making changes to its criminal justice system that's causing a lot of waves. Why one lawmaker says ending...
Sell something. The average bail in California is $50,000.
Your house still smells stuffy. That's because your home is filled with soft surfaces that trap odors and release them back into the room. So try Febreze Fabric Refresher. Febreze finds odors trapped in fabric. Fabric Refresher even works for clothes you want to wear another day. Make Febreze part of your...
We earned a lot of VA benefits with our service, but the VA home loan benefit is a big one. If you want to use it to get cash, call New Day USA. VA loans are all they do. And don't let less than perfect credit hold you back. Even if you've been turned down authority by the VA, they can often help veterans when other lenders won't. By refinancing up to 100% of your home's value, you could take and other expenses, plan for retirement, and get back on your feet financially. Need money for your family? Call New Day USA and use the VA.
I'm Chris, and I lost 120 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Introducing Nutrisystem for Men. For a limited time, save 40% off every program.
It's so simple. You eat the food, you lose the weight.
Lose up to 18.
I lost 10 pounds my first week.
I lost 20 pounds the first month.
I lost hard. You eat the food,
and you lose the weight. Order now and save 40% off every program. Plus, get 1 week.
I love the food. The meals are so satisfying.
The food is perfect for guys like me who don't like to cook.
It's not that hard, buddy.
You eat the food, you lose the weight.
You eat the food, you lose the weight. That's what guys want. Keeping it simple.
Go online or call 888-558-THIN and get free shakes plus save 40% off every program.
There's an exotic place where you can swim and the pleasures of a 5-star luxury vacation are all included. Sandals Grenada. Experience the sandals of tomorrow.
Hurricane Maria. It turns out the dimensions of that disaster are far worse. With that update. Hello, Steve.
Eric, for almost a full year, the official death toll from Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico stood at just 64, 2,975, making Maria one of the deadliest storms in U.S. history.
I made mistakes. Yes, in hindsight, things could have been handled differently. And my commitment as governor is accepting that criticism, but also building upon it.
The new numbers come after a report released by George Washington delayed medical care. While all the groups across Puerto Rico were hard hit, Old announced that it has cut back on emergency spending across Puerto Rico. They've spent more than $3 billion in the past year on debris removal and also on everyone on the island. But many critics say the grid itself is still fragile and could be prone to disaster should another storm hit the island. Eric, back to you.
Just so frightening and just so tragic. Steve, thank you.
It can't go on like this. I mean, it's either got to get better. It's just not good for the country.
Well, that was Senator Lindsey Graham on the Trump-Sessions feud amid new reports the president discussed firing his attorney general earlier this month. Now, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is coming to Sessions' defense, telling reporters, quote, I have to.
Well, good morning. I think it goes to a place that Jeff Sessions eventually leaves, but who knows when. You know, the going bet is sometime after the midterms because, as Senator Graham has said, this is becoming untenable. And I think that it's all going to come to a head, but it's probably not going to happen before the midterms.
Well, Kellyanne Conway was answering some questions as far as the president's perspective and thoughts on all of this today, and here was her response.
The president's confidence?
He is the Attorney General, Chief Law Enforcement of the officer, and they're doing great work over at the DOJ.
How do you read into that response, Brett?
Well, they're just tiptoeing through tweeting. The ironic thing here is that Jeff Sessions is one of the most successful candidates, cabinet members rather, of getting actual things done that had been on the wish list. He is knocking him out, but when it comes to his overseeing of this investigation, the president is clearly not happy. He's just tweeted in the past few minutes about Bruce Orr and how can Bruce Orr fire or take away the security clearance, essentially fire him, but he hasn't.
Well, you know, the words dysfunctional were confidence, should have confidence in his attorney general. If that's not there, what are the president's options here? Because the political fallout is much different than the fallout that we're
but Chuck Grassley and others who suddenly have warmed to the possibility of actually another attorney general. In the interim, before you would have a hearing, it would be Rod Rosenstein who would take over, and obviously the president has his issues with the deputy as well. It's politically perilous to start firing those folks.
And as we know, the president's call has been for Sessions, while he does maintain this position, to look at the other side the president has called on him to do, saying, come on, Jeff, you can do it. The country is waiting.
Investigations to start popping up, and you'll hear probably more of those in weeks to come. From what we're hearing, that there are investigations that have General Sessions is going to be at the forefront of that, but I think...
Time, sir, and we will see you tonight at 6 p.m. on Special Report. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sandra.
All right. Eric?
Well, Sandra, California becoming the first state in the nation or kept in custody. That based on an assessment of the risk that they pose to the public. Jeff Paul in Los Angeles live with this controversial change. Good morning, Jeff.
Playing field. They believe the current system unfairly keeps poor people who can't afford bond in jail and allows those who are rich to pay their way out. Now, the new law instead focuses on risk assessment. Those who are accused of non-violent misdemeanor crime, people who are facing charges that involve violent felonies or sex crimes, would be seen as high risk and would like
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Not for the rich, not for those who can afford bail, but for all.
We should have justice for all, but we don't want to forget the law-abiding citizens in this country first. Our duty is to protect law-abiding citizens first.
Now, among those who are against the new law, the bail bonds industry is concerned over the law giving more power to judges to decide. The organization says racial disparities are worst wherever there is discretion. Eric?
All right.
DeSantis has since clarified his comment in a statement saying, quote, Ron DeSantis was obviously talking about Florida not making the wrong decision to embrace the socialist policies that Andrew Gillum espouses. To characterize it as anything else is absurd. Florida's economy has been on the move for the last 8 years, and the last thing we need is a far-left Democrat trying to stop our success. We do not condone this language and wanted to make our viewers be on with Shepard Smith today at 3 p.m.
That after the U.S. exited the pact. Why he says he could let it go, and does that mean they will race for nukes? We will ask Foreign Affairs Committee Vice Chairman Congressman.
But Prevagen helps your brain with an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, healthier brain, better life.
Psoriatic arthritis tries to get in my way. Watch me. Now, watch me.
arthritis are changing the way they fight it. They're moving forward with Cosentyx. It's a different kind of targeted biologic. It's proven to help people find less joint pain. Use if you are allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting Cosentyx, you should be checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms of an infection, or if you have received a vaccine or plan to. If you have inflammatory bowel disease, tell your doctor if symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions may occur.
Hi, I'm Ty Young. What if there was an investment strategy where your money was completely protected against market losses? You would go up with the stock market, your gains lock in, and when the market goes down, you don't lose anything. Literally, you go up with your money, never down, forwards and never backwards. What if that investment strategy actually existed? Good news, it does. Get your investment.
The world's newest ocean cruise line is yet again a world's best. Viking's elegant ships deliver a superb, inclusive experience, with enriching shore excursions, alternative dining, all veranda staterooms, Wi-Fi, and much more. We're very proud to have been named a world's best 3 years in a row.
At Safe Flight Auto Glass, we really pride ourselves on making it easy for you to get your windshield what you love most.
With Car Gurus, you don't have to know cars to know what really matters about a car.
What are we looking at?
Emma's new car?
Well, used. It's the silver one. Nice. Lunar silver or modern steel? I don't know which silver exactly, but I used Car Guru.
Causing extensive damage there. Apparent tornadoes uprooting trees, leveling a barn even, and snapping power lines. Hundreds of train travelers stranded for hours because of the flooding on the tracks. An 11-year-old boy rescued after the boy's finger poking through a manhole cover 30 feet away.
Wow, that young man is lucky. Well, we have a Fox News alert on Tehran as it negotiates with Europe to try and salvage the Iranian nuclear deal. The supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, no longer serves Iran's interests, he says. That the country is struggling with an economic crisis that's been made much worse by those reimposed United States sanctions if they do.
Well, thanks for having me back on. This is a typical Iranian diplomatic move to apply the maximum pressure on the Europeans. You know, after we pulled out, the European dissidents kind of opened themselves up to this exact pull-out of it in the event that the Europeans undermine our sanctions.
And isn't it all about money? Isn't it all about money for the Europeans? Airbus and all the European companies doing business with Iran. I mean, they want to try and save that.
Unfortunately, it is. And remember what Lenin said about the capitalists selling them the rope they'd used to hang them with.
And that, in your view, is what they are doing by continuing to support terrorism?
I absolutely think so. As long as Iran's taking that money and supporting Hezbollah and Hamas and seek mayhem all around the world, I just don't see how it's in our interest to support.
As the state sponsor of terrorism, here's what Khamenei said, part of what he said about the deal. He said, quote, "The nuclear deal is a means, not the goal, and if we come to this conclusion, cause the U.S. indecent, and they're being, as you pointed out, brazenly defiant in Syria. They signed a deal this weekend, a military deal, to stay in Syria, despite the U.S. calls and Israeli calls to get out and move their line back. So, you know, Congressman, they're not budging, even with this deal."
Well, we can't inspect their bases. There's a couple of gaping holes in the deal that give us. If Europe doesn't want to follow our sanctions, then we're going to have to put the pressure back on Europe.
Yeah, you mentioned the nuclear sites. I mean, they are banned from inspection by the international inspectors, believe it or not. They have to get the permission of Tehran to go to a military site. The inspectors went to Parchin, one site, once. If they want to go back, there's still a whole delay in order to do that. Do you think, Congressman, that if the deal falls through, this is what critics say, that would mean Tehran would race with the deal in place? Tehran is prevented from being a nuclear power with nuclear weapons.
Well, we really don't know what Iran's doing because of the very gaping loophole that you just mentioned. They could be enriching uranium right now. Why not cut off their money supply and make it harder for them rather than...
Though says they have been complying. I mean, what do you say to the international community that says they are complying? Well, go ahead.
Yeah, they always say they're complying on the basis of where we've been and what we know. But we don't know what's happening in those gaping loopholes, like on the military bases.
Going, undercover.
Well, our committee, we've heard several people mention ballistic missiles. I wonder how you can have an anti-nuclear war treaty and have them continue to talk about developing medium-range ballistic missiles.
And what do you do with the ballistic missile? That is an intercontinental missile, meaning a potential...
Exactly. There's nothing you put on top of that that's good and it doesn't have uranium in it.
And also, finally, there's a little reported story. They have been causing trouble diplomatically. Some Iranians have been arrested, targeting the Iranian opposition group, the National Council of Resistance of Iran, targeting America last week, and also allegedly trying to bomb or planning to plot to bomb. Attended, and others attended. So you're talking about accusations of assassinations and targeting Iranian dissidents and opponents of the Tehran regime. Your comment about that?
Yeah, I think we're seeing some dissidents take place in Iran because of all the economic pressures and the fact that this corrupt regime, dictatorial regime, is totally removed from serving the end of support. We just had some of these recent uprisings. I know for a fact that the Board of Broadcasting Governors and the Voice of America has a very significant market share in their resistance to this corrupt government.
Yeah, and the National Council of Resistance of Iran has a satellite channel too, and those demonstrations and anti-government protests are continuing on the streets of Iran and various cities. Congressman Francis Rooney, we thank you for joining us this morning.
But thank you for having me on.
Of course. Sandra?
The FDA approving new drugs at a record pace as the Trump administration works to try to lower prices. But could that mean a lack of adequate vetting?
AT&T provides edge-to-edge intelligence, covering virtually every part of your healthcare business, so that if she has a heart data with other specialists, and they'll drop everything and take care of this baby.
Yeah, that procedure seems right.
And that one too. AT&T provides edge-to-edge intelligence. It can do so much for your business, the list goes on and on. That's the power of and. And when your patient's tests come back, you can immediately discover.
If you're a veteran homeowner and need cash for your family, call New Day USA. With the New Day VA loan, you can refinance up to 100% of your home's value. Take out $54,000 or more and lower your payments over $600 a month. And since New Day USA has been granted automatic authority by the VA, we can say yes when banks say no. Get the money you need in as little as 30 days. Call New Day USA.
Call 1-855-376-1359.
American Memorial Monuments offers special discount packages. We'll even design a 3D brochure or a matching vase. American Memorial Monuments, life's legacy in stone.
Are you over age 50? Have you been denied Social Security disability or SSI benefits? Did you know that if you are between age 50 and 62, you're entitled to certain Blumenthal? We know what it takes to win your case. We've helped thousands of disabled people of all ages obtain their benefits, and we can help you too. So call.
Want 2018 Accords with clearance savings? Honda's got it. All Accords are on clearance for just $249 a month during the Honda Summer Spectacular event. Get an Accord, the North American Car of the Year, with tons of standard features. Honda Sensing, multi-angle camera, alloy wheels, and a turbocharged engine for less than the competition. Just $249 a month, or save thousands with 1.9% financing. Honda's got it this week at your Miami Valley Honda dealers.
Wow, it's hot outside, but cool inside, thanks to Tanner Heating and Air Conditioning, where quality and comfort matter the most. Our cost-effective systems for your home or office and planned service will save you some bucks. Bucks. That's right, Sarah bucks. That will keep your wallet happy. Tanner Heating and Air Conditioning, a name you can trust.
At American Memorial Monuments, we understand losing a loved one can be hard enough at factory direct pricing. American Memorial Monuments, life's legacy in stone.
How's moving around? Well, the 4.4 magnitude quake was felt in the Los Angeles area. It happened about 7:30 last night, and thankfully there are no reports of any injuries. Whoop, look at that. Yeah. No injuries or serious damage.
Record pace and a push to increase competition and lower costs. But it's also raising concern in Washington with this. Garrett.
Well, Sandra, the FDA's goal here is threefold: enhance competition, promote innovation, and it believes the result will be lower drug prices for folks new generic drugs. But that record is not expected to last long. This year, as part of the Trump administration's goal to cut regulations and get rid of a lot of red tape, the agency released new guidelines to get generic drugs to the market in 8 to 10 months instead of the current average of 4 years. The FDA is also approving new drugs at the highest level seen in years. The 46 new drugs approved last year is the most since 1996, when a record 53 were approved. And this year, the number of approvals is already more than all of 2016. Now, some critics argue the FDA is lowering the standards for drug approval with its new guidelines and putting patient pricing safety in its push for efficiency.
We are not driving for any kind of cheap gimmicks or quick solutions. We're doing things the right way. We bring lower prices that are sustainable and support innovation.
And a lot of the new drugs the FDA is approving are for the treatment of rare diseases in patients that may not have a lot of other options. And today, the agency also announced its latest efforts to tackle the opioid epidemic and released new guidelines for drug manufacturers to help incentivize or encourage them to develop pain treatments that are not addictive. Sandra?
Garrett Tenney.
It's from colleagues in his home state. We will have live coverage from Arizona's state capitol, where he will lie in state, just ahead on Outnumbered.
In an era of online retail where everything is just a few clicks away, buying a car should be no different. That's why at Carvana, you can buy a car 100% online. We made it easy to browse, view, and buy from over 10,000 cars. You can even trade in your old car, all while binge watching your favorite TV show. Afterwards, we'll deliver your car to you. Or you can pick it up from one of our car vending machines. Either way, your car comes with a 7-day return policy. So grab a seat, relax in your comfy pants, and enjoy the new way to buy a car at Carvana.
For those who are driven by purpose, who are building others instead, TIAA will help you live your definition of success. Whether you have $500 or $5 million. Investing, advice, banking, retirement. TIAA. Start today at TIAA.org. You're not busy, are you?
Drug dealers, corrupt judges. What do I want? I want justice.
Do I have your attention?
Ooh, barracuda.
Peppermint, rated R.
Hi, I'm Annette, and I'm an actress. Cited. We have a model. His name is Richie, and all he's doing is taking a small amount. It's so powerful. That's all it takes. It literally creates an invisible layer that tightens the skin and smooths it out.
This is the only product I have ever used that actually really works. I look a good 20 years younger. I don't think I looked this young when I was 40.
Holy words I can't say on camera. Feels good. Looks even better.
You have any of those moments where you want to feel the best about yourself, the videos that you see are real. Those are the .com, or call the number on your screen.
With TripAdvisor, finding your perfect hotel at the lowest price is as easy as dates, deals, done. Simply enter your destination and dates and see all the hotels for your stay. TripAdvisor searches over 200 booking sites to show you the lowest prices, so you can get the best deal on the right hotel for you. Dates, deals, done. TripAdvisor. Visit TripAdvisor.com.
Jacqueline Smith has done it all. Her family, friendships, and her experiences in Hollywood.
Did you encounter men who crossed the line?
Yes.
Jacqueline Smith on the season finale of Objectified, Sunday on Fox News Channel.
Ripe tomatoes at each other, leaving the streets flowing with pulp. The Messy Festival was inspired by a food fight between children there way back in 1945, and it continues. You say tomato, I say tomato.
It looks disgusting, but it actually looks like a lot of fun. Look at that.
Who's going to do their laundry?
Can you imagine doing that in your town? You know, driving down the street, and they've got rules. Don't bring bottles or hard objects. Don't rip other people's T-shirts. And you got to squash.
And in his next trip around this festival. Eric, thank you very much.
Sandra, thanks for having me.
Good to have you. Outnumbered starts right now.
This Fox News alert, we're awaiting the start of the first of 5 memorial tributes honoring the life and legacy of Senator John McCain. A private memorial service being held inside the rotunda of the Arizona State Capitol, where McCain's been received in the past 40 years. This is Outnumbered. I'm Dagan McDowell. Marie Harf, former national security analyst Morgan Ortegas, host of the Evening Edit on the Fox. Very first time on the couch, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett, author of the New York Times bestseller, The Russia Hoax, the illicit scheme to clear Hillary Clinton and frame Donald Trump. You, sir, are outnumbered. We have a lot to get to today.
And I'm happy to be outnumbered. What does a guy have to do to get on your show? Write a #1 bestseller? Is that what I had to do?
Everybody needs a good lawyer, and we've got one on the sofa today.
All right.
So thank you, Greg Jarrett. Moving on to Arizona, the body of the late Senator John McCain will lie in state to pay their respects. The Republican lawmaker, known as the Maverick, is a war hero for his 5.5 years as a POW in Vietnam. Meantime, tributes pouring in from McCain's friends and colleagues on Capitol Hill. Senator Lindsey Graham reflecting on his special relationship, his friendship that the two shared, in an emotional farewell on the Senate floor yesterday.
Bill, for all the planes that crashed, you can never pay it off. He lived life to its fullest. He was often disappointed, but he was never deterred. Not a word often associated with Senator McCain, but it should be. Because if you were loved by him, you knew it. You were loved with all your faults, and I was lucky to have been loved by him.
Trace Gallagher is live outside the Arizona State Capitol in Phoenix, where the memorial services honoring Senator McCain will be getting underway just a short time from now. Hey, Trace.
Hey, Dagan, you know, Senator Graham has it right. John McCain lived a giant life. And it's funny because this really is the beginning this morning of many of the things that you will see today and tomorrow and the following days were orchestrated, and they were hand chosen by John McCain, who began selecting and choosing his funeral participants 4 or 5 months ago, personally calling former Presidents Obama and George W. Bush to speak on his behalf. The things you will see John McCain did himself. The speakers, the ushers, the pallbearers, most of them are friends and colleagues, big business associates. Many of them are adversaries. People did not vote for him, but did respect him. If you look behind me, you can see the flags here at the state capitol are flying at half staff for John McCain, and the ceremony will get underway, we believe, in about 40 or 45 minutes. The honor guard, the military contingent is here. We expect McCain's cortege to arrive in 45 minutes. Governor Doug Ducey will be here to greet Cindy McCain and sons Jimmy and Jack, leading that procession. The entire time that John McCain's casket is in Arizona, it will be handled by the Arizona National Guard. They will take care of it until it's put onto the plane tomorrow en route for D.C. Once inside the Capitol Rotunda, there will be a huge contingent of first responders, as well as Vietnam veterans, other military veterans, and the casket, of course, will lie in state for about maybe 24 hours. We will hear from the former senator of Arizona, John Kyle, Governor Doug Ducey, the former congressman of Arizona, Jim Colby, and the outgoing Senator Jeff Flake will all speak today. And we should note the public viewing begins at around 2 o'clock today, but many people are already gathering here. They want for hours and hours. Dagan.
Trace, I know that Senator McCain, being the son of a decorated 4-star Navy admiral, he traveled frequently throughout his childhood. But when he married his wife Cindy in 1980, they chose Arizona as their home base, where they wanted to raise their children. And he really, I know that Cindy actually posted something to Instagram yesterday about this. It was an old photo of the senator, and she talked about how much he truly loved the spirit and the beauty of the people and the actual state of Arizona. What has been the reaction of the people who were gathering around the Capitol building there, even as his casket was moving from his home in Cornville, leaving after his death?
Well, it brings up a very funny story that Cindy McCain shared, that John McCain has many times shared in his book. When he first ran for office here in Arizona, he'd only lived here for a few years, and some people were accusing him in the early days, this is in the early 80s, of being a carpetbagger, and John McCain would say, look, I was a military brat. I've lived in 25 or 30 different places. In fact, one of the longest places I ever lived was in that prison in Hanoi. So that kind of hushed up his detractors very quickly, and he went on, of course, to win that race for Congress and for the Senate. And Dagan, you mentioned about John McCain going around the state. It's imperative to remember that John McCain, whether he was running for Congress or running for the Senate 6 times, would canvass the state of Arizona, and that's why they love him so much here. He would go to every corner. There are towns in Arizona, in this vast state, that have 45 people, 95 people. John McCain would go. He would hold town halls there, and a lot of those people will come here to pay their respects. I mean, think about this. 2 o'clock in the afternoon today, it's just after 9 o'clock local time, so we're talking about 5 hours from now is when the public viewing starts. People are already gathering. It's 106 degrees here today in Phoenix. There's very little shade, if any, around the Capitol building, and many of them will be here until 10, 11, midnight tonight, being allowed to go in to pay their final respects. And they often, and many of them will say, look, I didn't vote for the guy. I didn't agree with his politics, but I loved him and I respected what he did for the state of Arizona. John McCain was influential in bringing casino gambling here to Arizona, which for Native Americans brought in billions of dollars. So a lot of the things he has done for the state will be remembered today and for many, many years to come, Dagan.
Trace, thank you so much. We'll check back in with you later. Trace Gallagher in Phoenix for us. But I want to bring it out to the couch. We've been doing this a long time, Greg Jarrett, covering events on TV. What do you make of this tribute? Because, again, this is not just for the people of Arizona and anybody who necessarily voted for John McCain. This is for every American who honors his dedication to family, country, and service.
There's so much to admire about John McCain. He led this exemplary life, which, you know, one wants to imitate. I was so touched by Lindsey Graham's tribute on the floor of the U.S. Senate. Whether he intended to or not, he was paraphrasing the famous remarks of Winston Churchill, when Churchill said, "The courage to continue that counts," and that was John McCain. I can't think of another person in my lifetime who suffered and endured so many trials and tribulations and yet continued to persevere and to triumph, husband and father. And I think people everywhere, as Trace said, whether they agreed with him or not politically, you know, you kind of love the guy. I always loved interviewing him, because he, unlike most politicians, he would actually answer my questions.
Right, honestly, right?
Yes,
not just with talking points.
He would. You know, most politicians sort of bob and weave. They do the old Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope and evade the question, and you know,
well,
but John McCain wouldn't do that.
I just want to say he would love your Ali reference, because he was a sports fan through and through. And I think the last time that I saw Senator McCain, he was here. What was he talking about in the green room? But boxing, Morgan Ortegas. And so when we talk about him, I think he would like the fact that we're all smiling and remembering that part of his personality, that incredible sense of humor, because I know that you knew him as well.
Yeah, and let me just speak from a Navy perspective. You know, I'm in the reserves, an officer in the reserves, and in the Navy. And the number of my fellow sailors who have texted this week, who never knew him, never met him, but just admired go to the Capitol as a group and pay our respects. And these are people I'm in the Navy with who I have no idea what their political affiliation is, and it doesn't matter, you know, but they respected his service so much. I have a great story. I guess it was 3 years ago. Senator McCain cared very much about raising up the next generation of national security leaders. And he invited me, along with Senator Lindsey Graham, to be a part of the delegation to the Munich Security Conference. And Secretary Kerry was speaking that year. And we were all at dinner one night, and I was the least important person by a mile. I was probably the youngest person in the delegation, but he really believed in bringing up the next generation and mentoring us. So we're all sitting at dinner. I was sitting across from him, and and he was taking schnapps. He was doing shots throughout the night. So I am not much of a drinker, and I thought, how am I going to keep up with him? But like, I can't let him outdrink me. So Senator Ben Sasse was sitting to my left, and at one point during the dinner, he started asking him about what happened to him in Vietnam. Oh. And I have to say that it was at first, it was a sort of awkward moment for me. I sort of tensed up, and I thought, oh my God, does he want to talk about this? It must have been very traumatic. And he very calmly, probably for the next 20 minutes, just started telling us stories. Yeah. Very matter of fact, started talking about his service. And I know that was the first time I met Senator Sasse. And several of us at the table, Tom Cotton was there, we were just sort of sitting in awe as Senator McCain told these stories. And it wasn't with pride, it wasn't with embarrassment, it was just factually, this is what happened to him. And he so loved his country, and I'm just so lucky to have been with him.
Yeah, he's a class act, a true hero. And your point's well taken about the people showing up at the state capitol. And I've spoken to him too. He's so down to earth. The whole family was. The family weddings are known to be a big blowout fun affair. I mean, and he exited with grace. And his great point that he said, never doubt the power of the American ideals, and you know, considerable admiration from all walks of life and both sides of the political aisle.
And today would have been his 82nd birthday, which is just like one of those fate things that happens. But speaking about Vietnam, what has always struck me is this is a man who was imprisoned and tortured and then spent decades of his life working first to return remains of Americans that were still there, and then normal, because he believed it was in America's national security, economic, moral interest. I mean, this is a man who knew that America's best days were ahead and we can't be trapped by our past, no matter how difficult it was. That effort, which he undertook with Secretary Kerry across the aisle and others, watching John McCain go back to Vietnam, not being so bitter as all of us probably would be, right? Or it would be so easy to be, and saying America can have a new relationship with a country that we were at war with not that long ago, and tributes coming in even from across Vietnam this week.
And I think it's going to be an emotional few days for a lot of people, even people who never met the senator. Right. Vice President Joe Biden is going to be paying tribute to him in the service that we will watch tomorrow. Before John McCain goes to the nation's capital to lie in state there, and then the funeral service Saturday and being laid to rest on Sunday in Annapolis. But Vice President Biden, you know, shared in a lot of experiences, and Vice President Biden lost his son, Beau, to the exact same brain cancer that killed John McCain. So again, the McCain family and Joe Biden will continue to fight for research into that cancer and stand up for all victims of that deadly disease. Fox News will have continuing coverage of the memorial for Senator John McCain at the Arizona State Capitol. Stay with us for that. Plus, President Trump tweeting that White House counsel Don McGahn will be leaving his position in the fall. McGahn had been extensively interviewed by the Mueller team. Reaction from the couch, that is straight ahead.
Do you know which investment could be your best performer this year? Stocks, real estate, bonds? None of the above. It's silver. It's trending higher. And if silver returns to its all-time high, that's over a 200% increase. Call now to get this free report. First-time callers also get this free 1-gram silver bar.
If I could only invest in one thing, it'd be silver. Silver is running out. It's in short supply. It is one of the greatest investments you could have right now.
Call Lear Capital for your free report, Sky High Silver, and get the indicator that over the past 40 years has accurately predicted silver increases of 200% or more. Don't wait. Call now to get the report and ask how you can get up to $2,000 in free silver in your hand or in your IRA. This offer ends soon. Call 1-800-927-2400. 1-800-927-2400. That's 1-800
money. Whether you need 10,000 or 10 million, you can count on NewTek.
The helpful hardware, folks.
Have you ever seen the emerald waters of Barbados? Or seen...
Introducing Rapid Results. Lose up to 16 pounds in just 4 weeks and see real...
Broadband at home. Spectrum is right and has made a huge difference for us. We focus on digital technology, truly...
foods aren't perfect, but then they make us Kraft mac and cheese, and everything's good again.
Pat Boone here again. Just about all of us know somebody that struggles with pain that comes from aging, exercise, and other everyday activities. And this is why I'm asking you to consider Relief Factor. They have a 3-week quick start discounted now to only $19.95, so you can easily and inexpensively see for yourself if the 100% drug-free Relief Factor can help you, like it's helped me and my wife and thousands of others.
I first heard about Relief Factor on a television show, and I was skeptical at first, but because of the pain that I was having when I would substitute teach and have to climb stairs because I'd get assigned on the second floor classroom. And after about 3 weeks, the pain was gone and I was able to climb the stairs. I'm really happy. It makes me feel like I'm young again.
Let's see if we can get you out of pain too. Simply call the number on your screen or go to relieffactor.com.
Hi, I'm William Devane. Take a look at this tree. It's over 200 years old and still going strong, just like gold. Never before has it been more important to protect your assets, IRAs, and 401ks. I've worked hard for my money, and I'm not about to lose it now. I protect my retirement by buying gold every chance I get. I buy my gold from Rosalind Capital because I trust them. No sales gimmicks there. Rosalind will beat any price of any coin at any time. Just call them. And Rosalind will send you free information on how you can protect your assets and your retirement. So protect your future from the problems of the world. Invest in stability with Rosalind Capital.
Call now for your free gold, silver, and IRA transfer kits. And for a limited time, Rosalind is offering a $1,000 discount free to qualifying new customers. Call 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900.
Grandma, why were you not ready for the picture?
I was.
You look like you frowned.
No, I'm not. See my J curl?
Ancestry now has over 300,000 yearbooks from all across the country. Start searching for your family free at Ancestry.com.
It's Golden Corral's Wings and Rib Fest. Hurry in for fall-apart baby back ribs. And wings just like you like them. All you can eat every night. Start the car. Golden Corral. Your choice rules.
After World War II, Hitler's deadliest lieutenant escaped. 15 years later, he was found.
We'll get him back here alive.
Discover the incredible true story of Operation Finale.
For the sake of the world, do not fail.
Operation Finale. Rated PG-13.
The motorcade carrying Senator John McCain's body is set to arrive at the Arizona State Capitol moments from now, where he will lie in state today. The ceremony's kicking off 5 days of memorial tributes in Phoenix and then on to Washington, where friends, family, and the American people will get the opportunity to honor the late senator and war hero. It's clear that throughout his life, McCain earned the respect of men and women on both sides of the political aisle. Let's take a look back at some of the moments that made that possible.
I'm the luckiest guy on earth. I have served America's cause, the cause of our security and the security of our friends, the cause of freedom and equal justice, all my adult life. I was, knowingly or not, along for the ride as America made the future better than the past. And I've enjoyed it, every single day of it, the good ones and the not so good ones. I've been inspired by the service of better patriots than me.
I can't trust Obama. I have read about him, and he's an Arab. He is not. No.
No, ma'am. He's a decent family man, citizen that I just happen to have disagreements with on fundamental issues, and that's what this campaign is all about. Our reputations, our character, are the only things we leave behind when we depart this earth. And unjust acts that malign the good name of a decent and honorable person is not only wrong, it is contrary to everything we hold dear as Americans.
Bret Baier is Fox News chief political anchor anchor of the special report. Brett, it is a testament to how Senator John McCain touched all of our lives in some way, shape, or form that he is being honored in the way that we'll see in the coming days.
Yeah, Dagan, you know, it starts in Arizona. And remember that for Arizonans, this is a figure who, for many of them, has been a political figure for all of their lives. You know, he first became a congressman in the 1980s and then a senator, taking over the seat for Barry Goldwater. But he was, and as you look there live in the Arizona State Capitol, a real figure there in Arizona, so it's fitting that he'll lie in state there in the Capitol Rotunda. Only 3 other people have done that over the past 40 years in Arizona: a state senator in 2006, Marilyn Jarrett, and also Olympic gold medalist Jesse Owens, a Tucson resident. Senator McCain will be the 3rd. And obviously you'll hear from the governor, Doug Ducey, you'll hear from former Senator John Kyle, and also a benediction from the current Senator Jeff Flake.
But then moving on, we will, so the people of Arizona will get to, and we're watching the motorcade move right now as it approaches the Capitol building there in Phoenix, Brett. But then he will lie in state in the nation's capital later this week. A large service will be held with speakers, past presidents, on Saturday. I know that you're going to be covering that. But again, this is a real tribute to Senator McCain as a public servant, but as a war hero as well.
Well, that's right. I mean, as you look live, this is something that we don't see too often for figures in American politics. Only a few get this kind of treatment, and Senator John McCain is one of them, not only for his time in the U.S. military, but his time in service up on Capitol Hill. The service at the National Cathedral will include eulogies from former President Barack Obama and former President George W. Bush, both, of course, political opponents who beat him in a general election and in a primary election for the nomination. So this is a rare event, and over the next few days you're going to hear a lot of remembrances, as you just heard yesterday from Senator Lindsey Graham in an emotional speech on the Senate floor.
And so a little more than a year ago. And many people on this earth don't get a chance to say goodbye and plan their own funerals the way that Senator John McCain did. And there were a lot of people who went to see him out. He was staying out there and going through treatment. And much has been made of who will speak at the National Cathedral. President Trump will not be in attendance. But again, to face death with such courage and still such life is a testament to who he was.
Yeah, and you know, he did do a lot of this planning in all of that time since the diagnosis, as you mentioned, Dagan. The Arizona Army National Guard there will be carrying the casket in. He was down to the detail, we are told, for all of these ceremonies, who was going to speak, what was going to be done. This ceremony tomorrow in Phoenix will be at the Baptist Church there, and you'll hear from Vice President Joe Biden, who Senator McCain chose to speak. He chose the music, Amazing Grace. He wanted to hear Frank Sinatra's My Way, which will be played in the service tomorrow, and you know, he was prepared for this moment, and to hear his friends talk about it, he was ready.
Brett, this is Morgan Ortegas. I'm curious what you think will happen to Senator McCain's foreign policy legacy. He clearly believed in a very robust American presence abroad, advocated for more involvement in Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, which is a different temperament than I think this current president has taken, and even one that President Barack Obama took. Where do you think his foreign policy legacy stands, and who will keep that alive?
Well, one thing, Maureen, is that NATO is considering naming its headquarters building after John McCain. the new headquarters for NATO. That tells you something about his international impact. If you look at all of the statements coming out from world leaders who have dealt with, in one way or another, Senator McCain on foreign policy, they are all glowing. I do think we're in a different stage now, and there is a battle, as you know, between an aggressive foreign policy stance like John McCain had on a number of fronts, and one that is more let the folks in those regions do the work and fight the battles. And I think those are going to be fought over elections to come.
Brett, and one thing, just because we talk about the political implications of Senator John McCain's death, who will fill his shoes. Much has been written about that, but let's talk about the personal as we wait for the hearse to arrive at the Capitol building.
And that's Governor Ducey walking down to greet the casket with his wife there.
Right, and they're going to greet Cindy McCain, who will be escorted by their two sons, Jack and Jimmy McCain, along with the rest of his family. Meghan McCain, a former co-host of this show, Bridget, his other children, 7 in total, 2 adopted sons who he adopted in his first marriage, a daughter, Sydney, and we're expecting, I believe, the entire family to be there, including everyone's spouses. But Brett, just on a personal note, John McCain shared this cancer fight with the world, and that does a lot to remove the stigma of battling cancer like this, particularly one that is deadly. The prognosis when you are diagnosed with glioblastoma is grim, but they fought, and the whole family talked about it and shared it with the world. That goes a long way to providing strength to families around this globe who are facing the same fight.
Definitely, and I think people look at how he faced his final days with respect and admiration. It is pretty remarkable that he died 9 years to the day on the same day that Senator Ted Kennedy died from a similar illness and brain cancer. And you know, both of those figures, I think you look back and see how they handled the final days until their passing. You know, you're looking here at Governor Ducey, who just last night won a GOP primary. He is expected to sail to a general election win. Anything can happen, obviously, but he has a high approval rating. He speaks and spoke very highly of Senator McCain and his working with Senator McCain as the senior senator dealing with the governor on the ground.
You know, Brett, it's Liz McDonald here. What's really interesting is the list of pallbearers for Senator McCain's coffin. It's Joe Biden, Warren Beatty, Michael Bloomberg, Secretary of Defense William Cohen, looks like former Senator Gary Hart, and Pennsylvania Governor Tom Ridge. It just shows that politics are not germane to friendships here, right?
No, and if anybody proved that, it was John McCain. A lot of people didn't know that he was friends with Warren Beatty until they saw the list of pallbearers, and he was, and they had an interesting friendship and relationship, we're told. He obviously didn't care about labels as far as a party label. If you were in his inner circle, you were in his inner circle, and you heard Lindsey Graham talking about that yesterday on the Senate floor. I think what is going to come out are stories of friendships and outreach that you will not have heard over the next few days. Senator John McCain could be pretty prickly at times, but he also could be extremely warm and definitely funny. He had a big sense of humor.
You know,
and I think we'll get a lot, like you said, Brett, we are going to get a lot of laughs, which is exactly how, quite frankly, a funeral should be. Certainly Senator John McCain's funeral. That I think he would want the people to remember him honestly, authentically, and with a lot of laughter and humor and smiles.
You know, what strikes me, Brett, it's Greg Jarrett, is what a remarkable and marvelous life this man had. And yet there were so many different highs and lows. And the lows would have shattered most people. POW, agonizing torture over the course of 5 years. He emerges from that resilient. He had another huge setback politically in the Lincoln savings and loan scandal. And it deeply wounded him personally because, you know, he knew he was an honest and honorable man, and yet he got caught up in something in which Congress later determined he'd exercised poor judgment, but he was cleared of any real wrongdoing. And yet, this is a guy who had such perseverance and determination that he didn't let those things get him down, and he achieved some of the great highs in life. And in his very fine farewell letter, you know, he said, I wouldn't trade my life for anything. You know, I'm possessed of the same human frailties that afflict us all. But, you know, he continued on, and that is so much to be admired.
You know, he often said that he was imperfect, and he lived an imperfect life, but one in which he tried and strived to be as good as he could be. I think he learned a lot, specifically from the savings and loan case you mentioned, about graft, about influence, about fighting back special interests, and he kind of made his moniker the Straight Talk Express in a later, you know, presidential run, and almost really won that 2000 presidential nomination fight, losing to George W. Bush in South Carolina. That kind of ended it as the motorcade starts to pull up to the Capitol here. You'll see the governor greeting the family and the casket.
And Brett, let's remember the family today, because this is it. You know, they had over a year to say goodbye to their husband, their father, but again, it's an emotional, it clearly is and will be an emotional day for the entire family. This is a really close family. Meghan getting married just last year, you know, the home in Cornville.
Because of this.
Right, and the home in Cornville was a place of many a party, and people have been able to share in the time that the family has spent there. Quite frankly, thanks to social media. And again, this has kept the entire country, all the people in Arizona, around the United States, in touch with what was going on, even when we didn't see the senator in Washington.
Yeah, they're tremendously close. I think Meghan's letter to her father, released just the other day, was really quite something. And I've heard her, and I'm sure you have, talk personally about what her relationship was and is, and I'm sure that that's going to be really tough. Cindy McCain also putting out a heartfelt statement, but you wonder how this all will sit, because it's pretty overwhelming if you think about it, all of this pomp and circumstance. There was something about John McCain that was very humble and kind of down to earth, and even though he planned everything here, you know, you wonder what John McCain would be thinking about all of this spectacle.
Okay, Brett, the hearse and the funeral procession are arriving in front of the Capitol Rotunda, front of the Capitol building. I want to go to Trace Gallagher, who is on the scene in Phoenix. Hey, Trace.
Hi, Dagan. Yeah, the procession is just now arriving here. It took about 35 minutes from the funeral home to the state capitol, which is maybe 10 or 12 miles to get here. So they're running a little bit behind schedule. You can see the hearse is arriving now, and you can see Governor Ducey and his wife, Doug Ducey and his wife, Angela, the First Lady of Arizona, are now poised to greet Cindy McCain and her family here. We're kind of focusing on the big picture here. The big picture is the state capitol, but if you look at those 13 miles that the cortege went from the funeral home to the state capitol, you would see streets lined with people and flags, and people were encouraged to come out and pay their respects, and they did in droves. And you had the local affiliates up with their helicopters showing this kind of respect for John McCain, to give you an idea of exactly how powerful this day is for many people here in Arizona. The way this will work is you will have Cindy McCain and her family will be greeted by the governor and the First Lady, and you can see Cindy McCain right here just now is leaving. She'll be escorted with military. We should note that every single branch of the military is represented here. We have the Honor Guard, all the branches, and of course John McCain has made sure that this was what he wanted. He handpicked many of these details. The embrace there between the governor and Cindy McCain. The McCain family will then join Mrs. McCain and go inside the state capitol. And of course, the Honor Guard and the National Guard of Arizona will handle the casket from beginning to end. While John McCain's casket is in Arizona, it will be handled exclusively by the Arizona National Guard, as per Senator McCain's wishes, until the casket is put on that plane tomorrow afternoon and flown to D.C. So the greeting between the first couple of Arizona and Cindy McCain, the widow of John McCain, the McCain family, of course, is also part of the cortege. When they go inside, the casket will be placed on the catafalque inside the state rotunda. And inside the rotunda, they will bring in numerous first responders, as well as Vietnam veterans, veterans from as many wars back as World War II, will be lined inside that rotunda to pay their respects. And of course, we will hear from the likes of Senator John Kyle, the former Arizona senator. Let's just listen right now.
Loving God, see our tears for our brother, our father, our husband, our fellow citizen, our senator. Let these tears bring blooms in the desert he loved, in the country he served, and in all our hearts. Amen.
Please be seated. Governor Ducey, Governor Brewer, Governor Symington, Governor Napolitano, Representative Colby, Senator Schlatz, Senator Heller, Senator Flake, Cindy McCain, and all members of the McCain family and friends. John McCain believed in America. He believed in its people, its values, and its institutions. He said he came to this realization during his time as a POW in Vietnam. I fell in love with my country, he said, when I was a prisoner in someone else's. As a result, he dedicated his life to serve his country. When he saw challenges to its institutions or values, he fought to protect them. Thus, his efforts to rein in excess campaign expenditures and congressional earmarks, which he viewed as corrupting our values and institutions. And his insistence that battlefield detainees be treated in accordance with American law and values. In international affairs, his beliefs led Senator McCain to promote American principles of freedom and democracy for others. And in our military campaigns, to support our missions and our troops. John had a keen eye for American interests and could spot dangerous adversaries a mile away. He was among the first to advocate the surge in Iraq to regain the initiative in the war there. I've been with Senator McCain all around the world, and I will tell you that he had better instincts about how and when and where to assert American power than any other leader that I've known. He had been to more countries, knew more foreign leaders, and had a better grasp of history than any other American official, including our secretaries of state. One illustration that we're all familiar with was when others were looking into Vladimir Putin's eyes with an eye of understanding him and reaching accommodation with him. John, of course, said, I looked into his eyes and I saw KGB. While I believe John's greatest contribution was to American national security, we must comment a bit on Arizona interests as well. In a word, he loved his adopted state. He loved its beauty. He was committed to protecting our environment and our water and our forests. He worked throughout his career with our Native American citizens and with Arizona's veterans. He was a big champion of our many military installations. Some have disagreed with some of Senator McCain's votes on policy positions, but that should not diminish our gratitude for his service. And let's return to where I began. John's love for America and Arizona. He represented our values all over the world as Senator from Arizona, and America is stronger for his fierce defense of our values. We can be proud he was our senator. I consider it a great privilege to have served with John, and I will miss him as a friend and as a strong force for America in the world.
We've all seen the grainy video. A young man in his 30s emerges from behind the folding doors of a bus, plows forward with strength. His feet land on the ground, and he limps forward towards freedom. It's John McCain, and he's just spent 5 years as a prisoner of war, shot down, ejected from his plane, his right leg and both arms broken. He managed miraculously to save himself from drowning in the lake in which he landed, only to be captured by the North Vietnamese. No one expected John McCain to make it through the night, but as one of his fellow POWs put it, dying was not in his plan. Confined to solitude, tortured, the son and grandson of Navy admirals repeatedly refused release until every other American brother was released with him. Of all the speeches, interviews, and town hall meetings that have been played and replayed these days since John McCain has left us, it's this moment, more than any other, that can't help but stir a spirit of patriotism deep inside every American, bringing goosebumps to your arms and leaving the hair standing on the back of your neck. Because as you watch his release and learn his story, the senator's life, lessons, and wisdom take on a much more meaningful context. When John McCain called on us to serve a purpose greater than one's own self-interest, it wasn't a talking point designed to win the next election. It was how he had actually lived his life and continued to live his life. It's how he wanted us to live ours. His talk of country first wasn't simply a slogan on a yard sign. It was what John McCain had done and demonstrated over and over and over again in the Navy, through Vietnam, and all the way to his favorite battles on the floor of the United States Senate. In 2008, he electrified an arena in Minneapolis, proclaiming, "We're Americans and we never give up. We never quit. We never hide from history. We make history." Those weren't the empty words of some politician grabbing the microphone and the spotlight for a few fleeting moments. Men had followed John McCain into battle, and we knew we could do the same. This man was trusted and he was tested, qualities in increasingly short supply. We sometimes think that politics is life and death, but John McCain knew better because he had actually seen death and dying and tragedy. Make no mistake, he fought like hell for the causes he believed in. He plowed through election after election with the energy and focus of a warrior. But along the way, he did it with humor and humanity, and without compromising the principles he held so dear. I'd rather lose an election than lose a war. And we knew he was telling us the truth. In that way, John McCain was about more than politics. He brought us above politics. John is probably the only politician who could get us to set aside politics and come together as a state and a nation, as we have. Like many of us here in Arizona, John McCain was from somewhere else. But his spirit, service, and fierce independence ultimately helped shape the state with which he became synonymous. Almost exactly 20 years ago, John McCain delivered the eulogy at Barry Goldwater's funeral. That other great legendary Arizonan who America holds dear in its heart. Where Barry Goldwater was born in Arizona, John McCain was Arizona's favorite adopted son. nearly 45 years old when he moved to Arizona. This is the first place, he said, where he truly found a connection. Arizona has enchanted and claimed me, he wrote. I love it so much, and I'm so grateful for the privilege of representing the state and its people. But in reality, we were the ones who were privileged. Privileged to have John McCain fighting for us. Privileged to learn from him. Privileged that when he was back home to run into him at the movies or at a ball game or at Starbucks. Just like he was any one of us. Privileged to proudly call him a fellow Arizonan. To the rest of the world, John McCain was Arizona. When all of us here traveled and told people we were from Arizona, people knew two big things about it. John McCain and the Grand Canyon. Imagining Arizona without John McCain is like picturing an Arizona without the Grand Canyon. It's just not natural. To the woman who brought John McCain to Arizona, Cindy, thank you. The hearts and prayers of not only Angela and I, but our entire state and nation are with you and your family at this moment. Always known for your elegance, grace, and compassion, and those qualities have been on full display this past year. You are a model for us and an inspiration. Arizona loves you, Cindy McCain. To the woman that brought John McCain into this world, Mrs. McCain, Roberta, 106 years young. You raised a remarkable son, and we are truly blessed that you are among us still. When we look to you, there's no doubt where John McCain inherited his determination, resilience, and tenacity. It was built into his DNA. You see it in John's children, who carry on his spirit of service. Doug, Andy, Megan, Sydney, Jack, Jimmy, and Bridget, may God bless you and keep all of you. Your father was very proud, and so is the state of Arizona. In May, Angela and I had the great honor of visiting with John and Cindy at their cabin. Before lunch, the senator broke the ice by sharing what was weighing on his mind most of all. Breaking into a signature grin, he said, "My biggest challenge is deciding whether or not to run for re-election in 2022. Dying, as has been observed 50 years earlier, was not in his plan. John McCain was a fighter, and he called on us to fight with him for American values, for the ideals and character of a free people, for justice and opportunity for all, for each other, and for this blessed and bountiful country. None of us were ready for this. We never would have been ready for this. But John McCain often said of Americans, we never surrender. So while we grieve today as a state and as a nation, John McCain's fight for America isn't over. It's a fight all Americans are obligated to continue on his behalf. And as we march forward with the courage and resolve he would have demanded, may we take comfort in knowing in that fight, John McCain will always have our back. Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful to have been gathered here today in the Arizona State Capitol to honor the life and memory of thy servant, John Sidney McCain. We are grateful for his life and for his sacrifice. Gathered in this spot, we are especially grateful that John made Arizona his home. More than 7 million of thy children have done likewise, and all of them, all of us, are grateful for John's able representation over these many years. We ask for thy Spirit to abide with us as we mourn his passing. We ask for an added measure of thy Spirit to be with John's sweet family, who have sacrificed so much for so long in sharing their loving husband and father with us for these many years. Send the Comforter, that they might be reminded that joy cometh in the morning. Now as we go forward, let us remember thy humble servant with gladness and cheerfulness, to answer his call, to summon the better angels of our nature, to see and appreciate the humanity in our opponents, to more freely forgive, so that we might be forgiven. Of this we pray, in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please stand. We have thanked God for the blessing that John McCain is and continues to be for us. Let us go now from this place in peace and comforting one another in the sure knowledge that one day we will join John in his home in heaven with his God.
There you have the McCain family touching the casket, paying their respects. It began with Cindy McCain addressing, and you saw Meghan McCain break down as she touched the casket. And the remaining members of the McCain family, their spouses, and then, of course, the public viewing will be later. We heard in remarks from the former Senator John Kyle, who said that he had traveled the world with John McCain, and he called John McCain a man with great understanding of the world, but yet he was a champion of Arizona and of the military installations in Arizona, and he worked and fought for what he believed in Arizona. The governor of Arizona, Doug Ducey, talked about what an electrifying man John McCain was and how he fought like hell, quoting there, for what he believed in, and that he tried to get Americans to come together. Governor Ducey said that when they would leave the state of Arizona, people would know Arizona for two things: the Grand Canyon and John McCain. And then we heard from Jeff Flake, the current senator of Arizona, the outgoing senator, who has many times said that John McCain was like his big brother. He said going to the Senate and having John McCain there as your big brother was like having someone that nobody would mess with. And Jeff Flake offered the benediction, the prayer, saying that we will hope to see the humanity in our opponents. And then, of course, they had the family addressing the casket. They will leave directly behind us. The casket will stay. John McCain will lie in state for the next 24 hours. The public viewing begins in about 3.5 hours from now, and it will last for several hours. It was supposed to go from 2 o'clock local time until 8 o'clock. We now believe, because there are expected to be 10,000 to 12,000 people coming to pay their respects, it could go from 2 o'clock until midnight or in the early hours of the morning, as people do what is being done right now, go through and pay their respects to John McCain. Those thousands of people are now at the Arizona Fairgrounds, and they're being held together in some shade because it's 100+ degrees out here. They'll be brought over here to the state capitol in shuttles. They'll go through, they'll pay their respects, and they'll be taken back to the fairground, and that will go on for several hours. I want to bring in Molly Line in New York, and Molly has been watching this with us. She is filling in for Harris Faulkner today on Outnumbered Overtime. And Molly, as you watch this and you see the great respect that his colleagues had and that his family, you know, he passed away last Friday, but to see Meghan McCain break down gives you an idea of exactly how close they were and exactly how much she, the family, and Arizona will miss the maverick of the Senate. Molly.
Yeah, and it speaks to what we've seen there, as you mentioned, seeing his children there seated with his wife, Cindy, that this was a father. He had 7 children, 2 sons adopted during his first marriage. Then they had a daughter, Sydney, went on to later marry Cindy. They had 4 children. Meghan, of course, perhaps most well known to the American public due to her career, but also 2 sons who served as well in the military, John and James, known as Jack and Jimmy, and of course this daughter, the youngest, Bridget. So there's a moment here where we see the family for the first time since they've had some private time to grieve, now joining the public, really. And we're expecting, as you mentioned, the public to come through. This is a chance for the people of Arizona. This was their senator, a chance for them to say goodbye. As much as he served his country and took so much pride in speaking as an American and wrote this beautiful final letter to my fellow Americans, he was also the senator from Arizona. That was his adopted home state and a place that he warmly embraced. The governor there thanking Cindy, of course, for bringing him there so long ago, and he had a chance to serve so many years for the people there. Joining me now, Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. She's the Republican from New York, and she had a chance to travel with Senator McCain to Munich not so long ago, and also, of course, you know him personally. Our condolences to you. I know, having interaction with your colleagues, it's always sad to lose a colleague. But you kind of hit it off from the very beginning, and it's because you both are military families and understand that sense of service.
Yeah.
You could tell me a little bit about that story.
Thank you. Let me first say, just seeing Meghan McCain there losing her father, I remember those moments when I lost my father 14 years ago and how close I was to him. But obviously, we all know Senator McCain, but I had a moment to meet him. My first time, actually, was in, I think it was in Philadelphia in 2017. And I went, you know, he was hosting a panel, and I ran up to go introduce myself, and I was very excited because he was a Naval Academy graduate, and my son had graduated from the Naval Academy, and also he spoke at the Naval Academy when my son was there. And I kind of said, hey, my son's a graduate, you're a graduate. And he said, it was really funny because he caught me off guard. He said, how'd he do? And I was like, you mean at the Naval Academy? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, he did really well. I mean, toward the top of his class. And he goes, I didn't do well at all. And I said, so he asked me where he was, and my son actually chose the Marine Corps. He commissioned as a Marine, and he's currently a Marine captain. And so then later on, when I had the great opportunity to go to the Munich Security Conference, I was with Congressman Joe Wilson, and we were about to do a meeting, and Senator McCain actually saw us, and he recognized me and said, come on in, we're going to meet with the Kurdish delegation. We'd love to have you as part of our delegation. And so we all got to sit in, and John ran the entire meeting, our Senator McCain, and went around the room and introduced us all, and he kind of made a little quip about the fact that my son didn't stay in the Navy. He ended up being a Marine, and he could have made a better decision. It was just really cute and really sweet, and so thoughtful of him to remember. And I think, as you point out, I mean, this is a memory of military families. This shows his tremendous courage and his support of military families and people who, are serving this country. And I'm just looking at this amazing footage. This is a legacy. This is a journey of someone who served our nation, whether you agreed with him or not. And certainly I didn't agree with him on everything. But what a great legacy. And I know they're all grieving, but I mean, his family has been given a gift, and I think that they're realizing that now. They're sorry he's gone, but we all, as American citizens, have this gift.
Well, Congresswoman, there, just in that brief story you told of a couple quick interactions, we see the sense of humor that Senator McCain had, and also his ability to bring in younger lawmakers and to begin to open their eyes up to everything that's going on to the world and kind of give to that next generation. Do you feel like that's what he's done for you?
Yeah, I think it was sort of incredible to me, all the activity at the Munich Security Conference, all these world leaders, and then for him to recognize me and just say, hey, come on into our meeting. We want you to be part of this. And later on there was a lunch, and he was always really kind. And then, he has a sense of humor. He has a little bit of a sharp sense of humor. But I grew up with a family like that, so I can take it. I thought it was great, and certainly that's his signature. Is he's a little sharp, and he was that way. And so to me, I think it means a lot to reach out to help fellow legislators. We actually worked with him on some legislation in his office recently, even though he hasn't been around the Capitol, but we've been working with his staff, and I know he's been very much involved right up to the end. And so there's many things dealing with the National Defense Authorization Act and my district, and having some really important issues in my district that they worked on with us. So we're grateful to him for that too. Even while he wasn't able to actually serve in Washington physically, he was still serving the nation right to the end.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, for joining us here today and just sharing those stories with us today.
Thanks so much. It was an honor.
All right, I'd like to bring in our next guest, Doug Holtz-Aiken. He was an advisor for Senator McCain's 2008 presidential campaign. Doug, our condolences to you, your relationship there with the senator. And just give us a sense, when we all watched the campaign unfold, there were some of those iconic moments, where he grabs the mic and corrects the woman it had called his competitor Arab. Even in those moments that are so challenging, and being out on the campaign trail can be very challenging, particularly in those areas where you're surrounded by constituents of whatever state you're in, and they're throwing questions at you. And he really is someone that has shown grace under pressure so many times. If you could talk a little bit about those years in particular.
Well, sure. But before doing that, I think the events today, sadly, after his passing, are really quite wonderful in a sense that Americans get to see all of John McCain. Many of us saw only glimpses. You saw him standing on a platform with Ted Kennedy and immigration reform, or in a town hall, or advocating for the surge, or some glimpse of him, and to see the whole man, the fierceness with which he was proud of his country, to see the family from which he drew so much strength and which was such an important part of his life, I think brings him into focus much better and provides him a complete picture of the man. And he was just a force of nature. To campaign with him was to marvel at how someone who was, frankly, much older than me was so much more energetic than I. And I never thought I would outlive him, to be blunt. He was an unbelievable campaigner. he drew great strength from the process of campaigning. He loved politics. He loved exchanging ideas. He thought that that's what America was about. That's what democracy was about. And he literally would physically draw strength from it. You would see him do 4 town halls in the day, and the 10 a.m. one was kind of, well, I don't know. And by 8 o'clock that night, he was going 100 miles an hour and fantastic. So it was quite an experience.
You know, in this letter that he had written that was read after his death, he said, "We have always had so much more in common with each other than in disagreement. If we only remember that and give each other the benefit of the presumption that we all love our country, we will get through these challenging times." And we've heard so many stories from fellow lawmakers from both sides of the aisle about ways he's reached across, about ways he's helped younger lawmakers to grow and to serve their country. And that seems to be a part of his central message. And he had a chance here during this final year of his life to kind of craft that to a certain extent and really drive home is that what we're seeing now in these days of remembrance, that message, that legacy, what he wanted to leave behind, people getting that?
I think so. He said many times, and it could sound like a slogan, that it was important to serve a cause greater than oneself. But that's how he managed to reach across, because the cause was the American ideals. It wasn't John McCain. It wasn't just conservatives. It wasn't just the Republican Party. And you could reach across and not compromise your belief in those kinds of things, Republicans, conservatives, because the country was more important. And that was the lesson of his life. It's how he lived it. And people are beginning to understand that. It really is, I think, a great lesson at this time.
Do you have any personal stories? Every person that has come on, and you probably have so many, have told moments generally that you laugh. Generally, he had just had a wonderful sense of humor, and was able to even in the briefest of interactions portray some of that humor that he very much probably needed to get through the remarkable life that he led.
Well, he had a fantastic sense of humor, and as the Congresswoman said, it can be a little bit sharp. So, I love John McCain, but it's like loving a porcupine. You got to be a little bit careful. He was going to jab you every now and then, and he did it at every juncture. But I think one of my favorite moments was after the campaign. I was actually doing a television show on a competing network, and I got irritated with the other person who was on the show, and sort of lost my temper on the air, and it wasn't the best moment. And I got off the set, and my cell phone rang, and it was John McCain. He goes, "You need to learn to control your temper." And he just started laughing.
You brought up something at the beginning of this interview where you talked about John McCain, the senator, as a family man. And in that letter that he wrote, he said, "I am the luckiest person on earth." And he went on to say, "I owe this satisfaction to the love of my family. One man has never had a more loving wife or children he was prouder of than I am of mine." And we've been watching some of the video replaying here as we've been talking of his family there, paying, in a sense, a few days here, these final respects among the public now. They've had some private days. But family dynamics can be complicated, and being out on the campaign trail as a family can also be a great challenge. Can you talk a little bit about that, about what it takes for the family to be a part of all this, and how he managed to handle that with grace and to bring them in along the way?
I think for me personally, to have watched that footage is one of the most heartbreaking things, because they gave him to the country so much. And now they have to give him up one more time for good. And they really were tremendous in supporting his efforts. And they would show up on the campaign trail, and they would want to help. And Cindy is the definition of grace under pressure, and a person you could rely on. And Megan, who was just starting out her career at the time, was just a sponge and wanted to know how to do things and wanted to do things. You could see in her that same insatiable desire to make a mark that her father had. And that runs through that family, and it was an inspiration to the campaign staff to see them show up and understand that this wasn't just one man. This was a tradition, and it was an important tradition in America.
All right, Doug Holtz-Eakin, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. As we continue our coverage here, we've been watching as the family comes out into the public light. And here we're just replaying some of the video of the senator's arrival there at the state capitol, where the public will have a chance to say their goodbyes as well in the next coming day and a half before he ultimately makes the journey back to Washington, D.C. He'll also travel through the streets a little, a motorcade tomorrow on his way to the North Phoenix Baptist Church for a ceremony that will go on tomorrow in the afternoon before that final journey back to Washington. This is a chance for the people of Arizona to say goodbye to their senator. And we'll continue with coverage. We'll be right back.
The best part about being a bath fitter installer is the reveal. Homeowners greet us in the morning and love that we're going to install a beautiful new tub right over their old one without tearing the bathroom apart. But they're never quite prepared for what they get come the end of the day. We call it the wow moment. When they see their new bathtub that's high quality and more beautiful than they could have imagined, I can't help but smile. Since it's Bath Fitter, it's built to last a lifetime. We guarantee it.
Book your free in-home consultation today. Call or visit bathfitter.com.
For those who are driven by purpose, who are building others instead of just wealth, giving back and never giving up. TIAA will help you live your definition of success. Whether you have $500 or $5 million. Investing, advice, banking, retirement. TIAA. Start today at TIAA.org.
I've always looked forward to what's next, and I'm still going for my best, even though I live with a higher risk of stroke due to AFib, not caused by a heart valve problem. So if there's a better treatment than warfarin, I'm up for that. Eliquis. Eliquis is proven to reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, plus has significantly less major bleeding than warfarin. Eliquis is FDA approved and has both. So what's next? Seeing these guys.
Don't stop taking Eliquis unless your doctor tells you to, as stopping increases your risk of having a stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve or abnormal bleeding. While taking Eliquis, you may bruise more easily, and it may take longer than usual for any bleeding to stop. Seek immediate medical care for sudden signs of bleeding, like unusual bruising. Eliquis may increase your bleeding risk if you take certain medicines. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures.
Eliquis, the #1 cardiologist prescribed blood thinner. Ask your doctor if Eliquis is what's next for you.
Okay, everyone. Our mission is to provide complete balanced nutrition for strength and energy.
Great tasting Ensure with 9 grams of protein and 26 vitamins and minerals. Ensure, now up to 30 grams of protein for strength and energy.
At Safe Light Auto Glass, we really pride ourselves on making it easy for you to get your windshield fixed. With Safe Light, you can see exactly when we'll be there, saving you time for what you love most.
I'm Chris, and I lost 120 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Listen up, guys. Want to shed a few pounds? Got a beer belly? Can't fit into your pants? Then you need Nutrisystem for men. Lose up to 18 pounds and 8 inches overall in your first month. Money back guarantee.
I'm Essex, and I lost 43 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Real guys, real results. Put down the pie. Pick up the phone and get with the program today. Order your 28-day plan now and save 40% off every program. That's 40% off breakfast, lunches, dinners, and snacks. For a limited time, save 40%. Plus, get 1 week of all new NutriPro shakes, packed with 20 grams of protein to help shrink your gut, free.
The food was delicious. This is perfect for men, especially guys who don't want to cook.
We'll even throw in FedEx shipping, free. So get off the couch. Lose up to 18 pounds and 8 inches overall in your first month.
It's not that hard. You eat the food, you lose the weight.
Go online or call 855-915-EASY and get free shakes plus 40% off every program.
In Jamaica, we live by the don't worry philosophy. And Only Sandals gives you more of Jamaica because everything's included at 6 spectacular resorts. So you can stay at one and play at all of them. Play more, man. Dine at more restaurants, no problem. And celebrate more. All included, all unlimited. Sandals Resorts. More of Jamaica's best from the world's best. Call 1-800-SANDALS.
As Arizona mourns Senator John McCain, there is new reaction to last night's big primaries there. where Martha McSally beat out 2 other GOP Senate candidates in a very fierce race. And then in Florida, a shocking upset now putting Trump-backed conservative Ron DeSantis against Bernie Sanders-endorsed liberal Democrat Andrew Gillum in the race for governor there. Now, early numbers also indicate more Republicans cast votes in Florida than Democrats. Let's bring in our power panel. Amos Snead, former press secretary for Senator Roy Blunt, Republican of Missouri, and Gene Zeno, political science professor at Iona College. Thank you both for being here today. I appreciate it. Let's kick off with Florida. That's always the perennial battleground. So much fun to just cover politics in Florida. And now we're seeing a Republican turnout there very strong. President Trump did manage to eke out a win. That had been Obama territory in previous years. Now things are set up for this battle in November. It's going to be a good one. But what we're seeing here is the liberal, progressive side of the Democratic Party and then a Trump-backed candidate. Is that essentially the scene setter for what's going to happen in November? Jean?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you brought up turnout because that's absolutely, I think, the biggest story here is Republicans and Democrats turning out in record numbers in these races. And to your point, I think what we're going to see in November is we are going to see this progressive leftist candidate in the Democratic nominee, Sanders, backed nominee versus a Trump-backed nominee. And we're going to see that not only in Florida, but in the Georgia gubernatorial race as well, where we're looking at 2 African-American candidates on the Democratic side. And, traditionally, we always talk about the fact that as you get to the general, everyone runs to the center. I'm not so certain that's going to happen this year. I think what we're going to see is these candidates trying to get out their bases. So it's going to be a hard-fought battle. I don't see either one of them turning to the center much more than they already have.
Amos, your thoughts on that? Because we have seen quite a few Trump-backed candidates do well. And then on the Democratic side, a lot of, some have branded themselves as closer to the socialist candidate, more to the Bernie Sanders part of the party. And it's not as clear as to how successful that'll be on that side.
I think if you're looking at Florida, last night was a win, I think, for President Trump, and it was also a win for very liberal Democrats in the state of Florida. And now what we're going to see basically a proxy battle between the Bernie Sanders wing of the Democratic Party and President Trump's wing of the Republican Party play out here in Florida. But I do agree with you. We are watching both parties run to their extreme corners, and I think it's a little different than we'll see in any general election that we've seen to date.
What do you think the chances are in Florida that the Democrats with this candidate can reclaim the governor's office that's been securely in GOP hands for a while now?
And look, I'm the Republican sitting at the table here. I think this will stay a Republican office in Florida. However, just watching the media coverage and watching the conversation on social media today and last night, there's a lot of energy on the Democratic side, especially from that progressive wing of the party.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree. I mean, you think Florida and you think we saw the establishment candidate on the Democratic side sort of doing the traditional thing, running to the center, didn't work out so well. And you have somebody coming from behind, which I think, agree with you, speaks to the energy with little name recognition, but this incredibly powerful story. And you see the energy on that side. We don't know if it's going to carry through in the general, but I certainly think the left wing of the Democratic Party.
And Arizona's got a hot contest, too. That'll be one to watch. We're going to talk a little bit more about some other big shakeups coming up. That'll be right after the break. I'll ask you guys to hold over for that. Who is leaving there and what it means. Right, we'll be right back.
This program is brought to you by Ebates, where it pays to shop everywhere. Join for free today.
Guys, I know it's so hard to trust, but you've got to be strong. Remember Janet? She got cash back shopping with Ebates and hasn't been skeptical since.
Where'd the money come from?
Stores pay Ebates. Then Ebates pays you. And they'll send you a check.
Oh.
Sign up for free, shop your favorite stores, get cash back. Ebates, something to believe in. Join today for a $10 bonus.
It's time to do more of what you want, where you want, with the all-new EU2200i generators from Honda. They're quiet, portable, and now packed with 200 more watts of stable power and all new features. And with easy starts and simple operation, you'll get to the good times even quicker. With outstanding fuel efficiency and the same reliability you expect from Honda, it's power you can trust.
Hi, I'm Barry Sloan with NewTek, your business solutions company. Does your business need money?
Whether you need 10,000 or 10 million, you can count on NewTek, the nation's largest non-bank government-guaranteed lender. NewTek can help your business expand and grow. With a simple phone interview, we can pre-qualify you in just 48 hours. And with rates as low as 6%, you can see why so many businesses turn to NewTek. To see how easy getting a loan can be, contact NewTek, your business solutions company, today.
Fox Nation. Find out more at foxnation.com now.
Available now with Spectrum On Demand.
Together, we can stop Thanos.
I think we'll pass. Just kidding.
Ready?
Yes! Marvel Studios' Avengers Infinity War. Rated PG-13. Available now with Spectrum On Demand.
Move or die.
Bring it on, One-Eyed Willie. Your bullets, they're really fast.
Deadpool 2. Available all month long with Spectrum On Demand.
Know that Evans Arena is the only dealership around that offers a VIP experience after you purchase a new vehicle with us? Our VIP plan, worth $3,000, includes 2 free oil changes, ding removal, key replacement, car wash Saturdays, and more. This year, we're taking our customer experience beyond the showroom. Ohio's largest Jeep and Ram obstacle course is now open at Evans Arena. We've created an opportunity for all of our guests to truly experience our products in the environment they were meant to be used in. Learn more at evansarena.com.
Imagine one day to get the summer-ready body you've always wanted. Imagine one day to a slimmer waist, toner arms, and thinner thighs. One day isn't someday, it's now. Sonobello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist, can help you lose fat and transform your body in as little as one day.
Absolutely, the next day you see the results. 100%, I wish I would have done it sooner.
Using advanced microlaser technology, our experienced board-certified plastic surgeons can target multiple problem areas in just one day. Call 888-317-1425 for your free no-obligation consultation and find out how to get one area free. That's your stomach, inner thighs, even your arms, free. And with locations nationwide, there's a Sonobello near you. Get our best offer of the year. Book now and get one area free. Payment plans available. Call 888-317-1425 now.
Big shakeup for President Trump's legal team. The president announcing White House counsel Don McGahn will leave his post this fall after the confirmation vote for Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. Now, we learned this earlier this month that McGahn has cooperated extensively with Robert Mueller's team. And the Power Panel is back to talk about this. Amos Snead and Gene Zaino, thanks so much. So let's talk a little bit about the background on this. Senate Judiciary Chair Chuck Grassley is tweeting that he doesn't want to see this happen. He says you can't let this happened. There were the reports McGahn had done really an extensive amount of talking with Mueller's team over the course of 30 hours across many months. So now it looks like he's on his way out. Gene, what does it mean?
I think, number one, Don McGahn deserves a lot of credit for one of the best things, and I say this as a professor, the Trump administration has done, which is ushering through almost these 2 confirmation hearings with the Supreme Court. His replacement doesn't have to be confirmed by the Senate, and it is not unusual historically for people to leave this job. It is a tough 24-hour-a-day job.
And Amos, bringing you in. Also, McGahn has reportedly been pushing for Emmett Flood to replace him as we head down this road.
I mean, hey, look, I think if you look at this, some staff turnover is expected, right? In this White House, we've seen a lot. So I think McGahn deserves to be in the White House Hall of Fame. You know, he's been there. He's stuck around this long. But
there has been some turnover.
There has been some turnover. But he does have a record he could run on. Look, we're going to have, as you mentioned, 2 Supreme Court nominees that have been on his watch and a conservative bench that he helped usher through. So I put him, A, for what he's accomplished, and B, for staying so long. He's in the White House Hall of Fame.
We have just a few seconds, literally. Tough job ahead for whoever steps in.
Tough job. If Democrats take the House, they won't be on the offensive as he has been. They will be on the defensive, and Emmett Flood is the person to do it. He's done it before.
Yeah, I think one of the toughest jobs in Washington.
All right. Thank you both for joining us here today. We appreciate it. And we will be right back.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need cash? You should know about the New Day VA Home Loan for Veterans. It lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, not just 80% like other loans. And that can mean a lot more money for you and your family. With our military service, veterans like us have earned a valuable VA benefit, the right to apply for a VA home loan. The New Day VA loan lets you refinance your mortgages, consolidate your credit card debt, put cash in the bank, and lower your payments over $600 a month. New Day USA has been granted automatic authority by the VA. They could close your loan in as little as 30 days. So call New Day USA. They look at your whole financial picture, not just your credit score, and they'll do everything they possibly can to get you approved. Call today and get the financial peace of mind every veteran deserves.
Go to newdayusa.com or call 1-877-236-1855.
As I was aging, the pain in my hips was getting worse and worse.
So I ordered Relief Factor for pain I was having in my neck and my knees.
After 30 years of back pain, I have found relief.
I am pain-free. I love it.
I am so glad that I ordered Relief Factor.
I am now pain-free. Thank you, Relief Factor.
Folks, I don't know how to tell you how rewarding it is to hear all the wonderful Relief Factor success stories. Pat Boone again. Let me ask you, are aches and pains keeping you from sleeping through the night? Or keeping you from taking those nice long walks or playing golf or tennis? You can't really call it living if you can't get around comfortably. The 3-week quick start from Relief Factor may be all you need to lower or even eliminate these pains. Here's something you need to know. The majority of people who order the 3-week quick start, now only $19.95, go on to order more. Let's see if we can get you out of pain too. Go to ReliefFactor.com.
Is mealtime a struggle? Introducing Ore-Ida Potato Pay, where Ore-Ida Golden Crinkles are your crispy currency to pay for bites of this with this. When kids won't eat dinner, potato pay them too. Ore-Ida, win at mealtime.
Let's take a look at some numbers. 4 out of 5 people who have a stroke, their first symptom is a stroke. 80% of all strokes and heart disease, preventable. And $149 is all it takes to get screened and help take control of your health. We're Lifeline Screening. And if you're over 50, call this number to schedule an appointment for 5 painless screenings that go beyond regular checkups. We use ultrasound technology to literally look inside your arteries for plaque which builds up as you age and increases your risk for stroke and cardiovascular disease. And by getting them through this package, you're saving over 50%. So call today and consider these numbers. For just $149, you'll receive 5 screenings that could reveal what your body isn't telling you.
And I'm going to tell you that's the best $150 I've ever spent in my life.
Lifeline Screening. The power of prevention. Call now to learn more.
That must be me right there.
There you are, Mom. That does kind of look like our family. What are you wearing?
Ancestry now has over 300,000 yearbooks from all across the country. Start searching for your family free at Ancestry.com.
Thank you for joining Outnumbered Overtime today. We've had a chance to see some of the remembrances are just getting underway for Senator John McCain, saying goodbye to the state of Arizona there. The friends, family, dignitaries, and the people of that state saying a final farewell. That continues tomorrow. There'll be a motorcade through the communities there where people can pour out and say their goodbyes, as well as a ceremony at the Baptist Church before he'll say a final farewell, the community, to their late senator. The Daily Briefing with Dana Perino starts now.
The flag-draped coffin of Senator John McCain arriving at the Capitol in Arizona as the state he represented in Congress for more than 3 decades pays tribute to his life and legacy. Hello, everyone. I'm Dana Perino, and this is the Daily Briefing. Emotional moments just a short time ago with McCain's widow, Cindy, and other family members, including his daughter, Megan, approaching the senator's casket. A private memorial service being held inside the Capitol Rotunda, where his body is lying in state for the rest of the day. Here is the junior senator from Arizona, Jeff Flake.
We are grateful for his life and for his sacrifice. Gathered in this spot, we are especially grateful that John made Arizona his home.
Alicia Acuna is live in Phoenix with more. Alicia, this was a ceremony about the late senator's service to Arizona.
Absolutely, Dana, and all branches of the military and law enforcement were represented here for the services and the ceremony. And I have to tell you, just watching the folks, watching this all unfold, it was right behind us here. You saw people getting teared up. It was really hard not to, especially when the Arizona National Guard casket team retrieved the senator and transferred him into the state rotunda. Everyone saluted. All members of the military and law enforcement saluted this man who represented service to country. In the private ceremony that we, the public, were allowed to watch and listen, Senator McCain's friend, former Arizona Senator John Kyle, spoke of the dedication to this state and to this country.
John McCain believed in America. He believed in its people, its values, and its institutions. He said he came to this realization during his time as a POW in Vietnam. I fell in love with my country, he said, when I was a prisoner in someone else's.
And Dana, that, the senator said, is when Senator McCain decided to dedicate his life to his country. Dana?
Alicia, we also saw touching moments and very emotional ones. Hard for this family to do all of this in public as they approach the casket.
Very much so, yeah, and we did at the completion of the benediction. The family members, starting with Cindy McCain, John McCain's wife of 38 years, went to approach that casket. We saw her reach out to touch it, both she and her daughter Megan, breaking down a bit. Such an emotional time. As you know, this is an incredibly close family.
We ask for an added measure of thy Spirit to be with John's sweet family, who have sacrificed